Hello.
Hi.
We are officially live.
Hey. Cool. How you doing, man?
I'm doing very good. I'm very happy we have off today. It feels good to have one more day in this weekend. How about
Yeah,
you?
same. I'm vibing off of the couple weeks off around the new year and like new year, new you and like cleaning up stuff. So a lot of cleaning up I've been doing.
Great. Did I ever tell you that I was in Seattle and Bellevue this weekend?
No?
Okay,
What?
well, I was traveling this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you doing up there?
My wife's dad lives in Bellevue, and we visited him and picked up our cat who lived there for a while.
Okay.
So we have our cat back.
Was that the cat's choice or your choice?
Yeah, the cat was like, "Hey, I need wellness. I need time off, you guys, and like I just need to relax." And then,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sabbatical.
yeah, exactly, in Washington,
It's the catical. Yeah. Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Every time we travel, we need to like get the cat somewhere, and since we were out for Christmas, right, we needed a place for the cat to stay. So
Okay.
cat
Yeah.
in Washington,
Makes sense. Yeah. Cat sitting.
cat sitting exactly. No, it
Cool.
was really nice. The weather was amazing. It was so sunny. It was really cold, and I'm really happy I'm back though.
Okay.
Not of the weather.
Yeah, it's got to be cold up there.
It is
Winter
so
time.
cold. I was not prepared.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is beautiful. Have you been to Seattle or the
Long
area
time
there?
ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice. I like the food there a lot and like the seafood and everything.
Mm. What's the like Pike's Market or something like that? Pike.
The main fish market in Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we were there. I
Okay.
had a crab sandwich at that market.
Okay.
Oh, so good.
Was good? Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
it's very expensive for like
Oh,
the
yeah.
tiny thing it is, but
I'm sure. Yeah.
so good.
That's good. A lot of times it was like they become like too touristy, like destinations like that, and then like the price is always there, but like the quality might not be. But
Yeah, no, no, no. This is a fish market. Are you excited for our events this month? All
yes.
things web.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us
Where we going?
where we're going, who's talking, what they're talking about?
Yeah. So in January, we are at Sanity again. I'm excited because I don't think I've ever been to their new office because last year we were there already once in the summer, but that was like the one meetup I had to miss for some reason. I don't even remember why, but yeah, I was not there. So very excited to see the office this time. And we have, I'm going to butcher his name, Rice speaking, who has been going viral on Twitter or X for all of his cool side projects. Have you seen the one where it's like, GitHub commits versus how much you yap on X. What's it called? Yeah, would need to check how it's actually called, but it was literally like you put in your Twitter and GitHub, and it tells you if you commit more or if you yap more. And I love that. It's
That's
so
good.
good.
Should be
Yeah,
like a score. Should be a score.
yeah. No, it was like actually it's just like 2 bars. I think really
Okay.
good stuff.
Nice.
And
Nice.
yeah, he joined Vercel last week or 2 weeks ago. So he's a
Okay.
Vercel software engineer now, and he's going to talk about using X or social media for product growth and just career growth. So really excited to learn from him.
Very cool.
Yeah, really, really excited. And then for the next months after, we haven't announced anything yet, but that's just because I have to get everything together. But yeah, we confirmed for February to be at Sentry, and then in March we're gonna be at Convex. So yeah, we're looking forward to both of them. But yeah, we'll announce them hopefully this week or next week. Yeah,
Yeah, we
you
need
know.
to figure out like the which ones the different speakers will speak at that we have lined up, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah, and yeah. I hope I like have some more. I reach out to some more people to speak, and we haven't aligned yet what of those events is the best. But yeah,
Very
generally
good.
saying we are all set for January, February, and March. And I don't think that has ever happened that we have a
That
three
feels good.
month backlog. Yes,
Feels good.
that's amazing.
I'm sure we'll just like sit on our laurels and wait until like the end of March and be like, we should probably get something lined up for April.
Yeah. Well, no, no, that was so great. We did 3 months, and then after 3 months, it's like, yeah, now we kind of don't have anything anymore. Let's see.
Are you going to be speaking at any of these?
You mean this great talk by Andre in March? Yeah, it was weird writing my own name. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I always write this like subtext for every meetup, right? Which is like, join us for 2 great talks and snacks and drinks. And this this time for March, it felt kind of weird.
You're like one great talk and one from Andre.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it feels cringe to say
Yeah,
it's a great talk. Yeah.
exactly. It's
Who
like
am I to judge? Yeah.
yeah. It's the Obama meme where Obama puts the medal on himself.
Yeah. 100%. Oh yeah. Now I know what I have to make before
Yeah.
March. Yeah. Andre putting a medal on himself.
No, yeah. I want to practice my talk that I'm gonna give at Epic WebConf in
Yeah.
March. And yeah, I want to practice it. It's just a 5-minute lightning talk at the conference. I'm not gonna do only 5 minutes at the meetup, but I kind of want to like see what is more interesting to people to just like filter content and such.
What are the topics?
Yeah. So the talk title for the conference is called Epic Image Optimization. You saw what I did there?
You throw
Epic
the
WebConf.
epic on there?
Yeah.
Ken C. Dawes is going to sue you, right?
This is brand violation. No, it's the same for all the remix conferences that were in the past. All the talk titles were like remixing something.
Yeah.
And now it's the same as Epic WebConf. Everybody's like Epic something. Insert talk title here.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Yeah, it's based on what we did for All Things Web, our website. I built out the image optimization. Pipeline sounds too fancy. Endpoint, I guess. And yeah, just like all the lessons learned from that. So that's going
for allthingsweb.dev.
Yeah, allthingsweb.dev.
Have like a scrolling marquee that goes across the
marquee.
screen. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but I kind of regret that I made it a lightning talk because 5 minutes is not a lot of time.
Yeah, you gotta be real fast. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Should I do? Okay, I have 3 different ideas for the talk. Can you tell me what you think would work best? Remember the talk by Bilipa about Cloudflare and video translation she did?
Yeah, that was the like real-time translation using Whisper from like OpenAI. So
yeah. And she used a lot of quizzes, right? Like quizzing the audience. Yeah.
With what's it called? Kablam or something like that? What's the
Yeah, exactly. That tool. Yeah. So one idea would just be do a 5-minute quiz. And all the questions are kind of my lessons learned. Kind of like if you have done a lot of web dev, you should be able to figure out most. It's not like image optimization only, right? But I don't want it to be very simple question. Like, what is a modern image format, right? Like, that's not going to be the question. It's more like, here's a piece of code. Here's a squiggly line. This is the TypeScript error. Why is this happening?
Okay.
And like a little bit deeper, right? Like web streams, like this kind of level. And then if you're newer, you may not know, but the answer may still be interesting. Yeah. And if you have done this before, you'd be like, aha, I know this. And it's maybe like a nice little competition to see who wins. And just like 5 minutes of that. Code example quiz. And then like it's a basic 5 questions, I guess.
Okay. What I really like about this one is the interactivity. You're like waking up people, and you just say competition. You don't even need like any prize, or you could have like a phony kind of fun prize or whatever. But like you'll get so many people just be like, like I want to be on the top of that leaderboard.
Exactly, it gets people super engaged, right? Like we saw that at the meetup, and when we had that, just because everybody's like, it's surprising how competitive you get, right? Yeah. So that would be the option number 1. And what I like about it is, as you said, just engaging the audience more. The tricky part is that 5 minutes is also not a lot for a quiz, right? You know how long the timer always takes, like there's a lot of idling time. And I guess I could do it in a way where the idling time can also be used to explain something, but it has to be done in a way where it's not overwhelming, right? So like, I think I need to actually try it once to see if it works, because I think it could just be 5 minutes of nothing, basically, if done wrong.
Yeah.
If it's done well, then it's just a fun talk, right? It's like, wow, you can do a lot with 5 minutes, right? Like that would be the goal. Yeah.
Also, wireless connections inside a conference can be.
If the internet is bad, like that's not, it wouldn't be a good idea. That's a good point. Yep.
But you could always just have like a fallback, right? Like if any of that happens.
Yeah.
Just be like the person who shouts it first, stands up and shouts the answer first.
Or like raise your hand if you think it's A, right?
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. Okay, fair. That's a really good point, though. I did not consider that would be so awkward. Like, yeah, good. Thank you.
I've been to one where someone they did like a live one, like anybody could like connect to a socket that they opened up, and then
Yeah,
whatever they typed would be like rendered.
yeah,
And the entire talk got, it was like a 30-minute talk, and it was like, it was very fun, but it was like, okay, you've got a bunch of
yeah,
software engineers at a conference, like someone's gonna start like pen testing this thing or like hacking it, and like sure enough, someone like hijacked hijacked the whole thing. Yeah,
yeah.
it was,
That's funny.
yeah, yelling something about like input validation, something something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to be careful. That's a good point. Yeah, I would definitely not try to build the quiz software myself.
yeah. There are edge cases that you
Yeah,
have to be concerned about. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And software engineers at a conference will find those edge
Yeah, we'll
cases.
find them. Yep.
Okay, so that's option one.
Option one, I
Very
think
cool.
three options, right?
High energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one would be build the simplest version of an image optimization endpoint live. You can totally do that in 5 minutes.
Okay.
Be like, hey, image optimization is super important if you want to have good UI. There's a lot of services that can help you, but sometimes it's hard to know which one is the best, especially if you have never played around with it. The best way
Mm,
to play around with it is just to build a very minimal version yourself to get a better intuition. Let's do it together. And then
okay.
just like code it down in 5 minutes. I've never done live coding at a conference,
Mm,
and I would probably be very nervous. So that's
yeah.
my concern with this.
Yeah.
And the second concern is I'm not sure how valuable the actual very simple implementation is, because for all people
Mm,
kind of aware of like HTTP streaming and caching and just like how HTTP endpoint works, right? Like you get an incoming request, there's some query parameters that you use to fetch the actual image.
mm,
Maybe it's already in the file system, then just forward it, otherwise fetch it, save it, and make sure it's not all in memory, but just streamed, right? Like that's all it is.
mhm,
If you're used to this, it's not like super exciting, right? So I'm just a little afraid it could be too simple of an implementation. And the other thing is like, that's also nothing I really came up with myself, right? It's not even the part, like for all things web, I used code that I saw online, right? Like there's already remix code that did that, right? Like other people wrote. And I
sure.
made it kind of like fetch from our CDN and like do
Mm,
some more stuff, right? But
mm.
the most simple version would literally be the gist that I like initially used as inspiration. And that would be like, here's a gist I found online. Let me type it out for you. Like, I'm not sure how cool that is, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so for the first concern there around like the nerves that you might have doing like live coding,
Yeah.
always have the code all written.
Solution. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what I've found also pretty useful in longer live coding things, like in a workshop setting or something, is
Yeah.
use Git. So just have like
They
a
just,
branch, and then
yeah.
you can either have the different commits on that branch, and you're just navigating through the Git tree basically,
Yeah.
or you just have separate branches like step one, step two, step three,
Yeah.
and then you can. The benefit of that is like, well, one, you could just check it out really easily each one,
Yeah.
but two, you can put it up on GitHub, and then people can see it,
Yeah.
right? Like you're giving them a gift that they can get after, or some people will pull it up right there and star it. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's one.
That's, yeah, that's a really good point in general with like having, make sure the solutions is there for sure. But I also like it's like three distinct steps where each has like a little lesson learned. And if I
Yeah.
fail or like something goes wrong in one step, I can like fast forward to that solution and
Mhm.
then continue coding from there, right? So like it's not all lost. You
Yeah.
at least like save the next implementation step and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's, yeah. That was
Um,
actually the third variant already, kind of.
oh, okay.
Yeah. The
Well,
third, yeah.
yeah, I think which the third variant is like it's all you're just going over the solution kind of thing, lessons learned.
Yes, more like the actual implementation that we use for all things web that is a little bit more advanced. And like I code it out one more time, just like in an example repo, but I make it like a very simple version, then a little bit more advanced version. And every time something
Mhm.
important changes and like
Yeah.
it's more advanced, basically. That would be the third step. And it kind of like just talks through what like what I learned on all the steps. Like here I realized that a file, if it fails to load, the file can still be created, but it could be empty. So checking for an empty file and just
Mm,
be like, if it's
yeah.
empty, don't stream it. It's just like the same as there is no file, right? Like stuff like
Yeah.
this, like
Yeah.
tiny little. I'm also not sure how important these lessons learned could be. Like it's
Mm.
tricky, right? It's very like neat.
Yeah, I think with like same with the second option there, like I wouldn't worry about it being like, is this complex enough or like sophisticated enough topic or something like that. Like
Yeah.
I think going in with like a simple thing, like even the simplest things are not known by everyone,
Yeah.
and everyone that knows it, they had to learn it sometime. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, those kind
A
of things,
refresh.
and
Yeah.
in a lightning talk, you don't want to be like, diving in and you're like 3 layers deep into like quantum mechanics about you know what I mean? Like you want it should be like light in a way, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely wouldn't worry. It's going to be useful. Like it's going to be useful for some people, right? And probably useful for the majority of people, like the vast majority of people. And it's also just put on the thing of like cognitive biases. Like once you know something,
Yeah.
then it's like simple, right? So you're probably like, oh no, this is too simple. Like image optimization with HTTP streams. It's like, yeah, obviously, but like this is not going to be obvious to most people, right?
I know what you
Um,
mean. Like, yeah,
yeah,
even if you use a service and you have been like, unless you have looked into image optimization with Node in the last like 2 years, it's probably a little vague for you already again. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I agree.
yeah, yeah. That's it's good. I think what I'm seeing a lot of similarities between option 2 and 3,
Yeah.
and what I think like the most important part of like either is that people could follow along. So it's, if in the first option like you're maybe it sounds like kind of your concern is like this won't be interesting or like I might mess up coding or something like
Sure.
that. Like as long as people are like able to follow along, such a benefit of like live coding because you're like talking it out while you're doing it and people are seeing like how it's being composed. And then similarly, if you're already have like the finished solutions and lessons learned, it'll be hard for people unless you like purposely step through like line by line
Yeah. Yeah.
essentially.
You have to be
um,
really
yeah,
slow. Yeah.
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 You're like in this lesson, and you show a slide with like 30 lines of code, and then like 10 seconds later, you go to the next slide. Like no
Yeah.
one,
No,
people
I
have to go over like multiple times usually, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
100% agree. I did a lightning talk before at, I think, Remix Conf. So before Ken took over and kind of made it Epic Web Conf, right? There was Remix Conf also in Salt Lake City. And I did a lightning talk about why you should do full stack web development, basically. It's like a business case. I think the talk was easy-ish to follow. Like I watched it again just to see how easy it was to follow. But like I had these Excalidraw graphs that I put in the back. And while I was saying like one sentence, there's this like massive graph behind me. And then I go next.
nice.
There's
Yeah.
like nobody. No,
Totally.
not a
Totally.
single person was able to
Yeah.
look through
Yeah.
this graph right now.
Yeah.
See, absolutely.
You should just like, here's what modern full stack development looks like, the
Yeah, next.
architecture in 2021 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Next slide. Yeah.
So yeah, I have to be, yeah. This
Here
time
are
I
all
want
the frameworks. Sorry.
yeah, exactly.
Here's how everything works. All right. Next. Yeah.
Here's a brief history of web development since 1980s.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Boom. Yeah. You guys all remembered all that stuff, right? Good. Just a refresher. Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's hard. 5 minutes is very short, right? So you do have to. That's the best thing about that option one is like you just get them right away. Like, how do you get like people are just like interested just by doesn't even matter the topic, just by virtue of there being like a competition.
Yeah.
How do you get people like? Why do I care to listen to your 5 minute talk about
Yeah.
image optimization?
If it were a talk where I would make it kind of an essay, like I did last time, where it's just like an argument that I'm playing out, then I think the answer is memes. Like I mean it. Like the more memes, the better in the back. Like the more auto-generated stupid images you can show, and like, yeah.
But they got to be real dank. Like the memes got to be good.
Yes, yeah. But the more stupid memes, the better. But this time I don't want to do this again. Like I would like to try something else. So that's why I'm not trying to do uh, like an argument or just like a review of why image optimization is important. Like I don't want to do this year.
Yeah. Which of the three do you lean towards? Which one do you like the most? Like you think about the three and you're like, that's the one I feel would be the most fun or rewarding to do.
I've never really engaged with an audience when I did a presentation. Like really, I've been like, who has a good time, being a little cringe, but that was about it, right?
Sure.
Just killing myself thinking about it. Like, oh no, why did I do this? Um, but yeah, I think that's why I like the first version, because it's just like fully leaning into this. I guess you can always make like, I'm going up because I want to share my excitement and what I learned, right? And then hopefully people get excited and maybe someone learned something, right? Like that would be good enough for me. But the sugar on top would be people had a good time while listening to, right? Like not just exciting, but like had fun. And I think with the quiz, you can make that happen the easiest. Like there's some ways you could do it into the code, live coding, right? Like it's images, so you can have an example image, and the example image could be really stupid. Like there's ways, but like, yeah. I'm probably gonna write a blog post, and for my blog post, I'm using a picture of my cat. So like, I already started the blog post, like writing down all the content that I would then use to do the quiz or the live coding. But yeah, it like in a presentation, I think you have to do something a little funnier than just a cat. But I would know, but
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm tending towards the quiz.
You should go with your cat, or try out all three at All Things Web.
I will. Yeah, that's the whole point. Like, since it's going to be like a 15-minute talk, I will just do all three. Like, start with a little bit of an essay, then do live coding, and then do a quiz, and see what I like the most.
You should do it like statistically significant. So like we can take the group into like split it into 3 separate rooms, and then take one, and then you like score on a like 1 to 10. How would you rate this talk? And then see, if you do it randomly, then you can.
Like an actual ABC test.
Yeah.
Groups.
Yeah. There'll be like 2 people that are like talking to each other. They're like best friends. They came to the meetup because like one of them brought them with, and like, I won't abandon you at this meetup. Like, no socially awkward situations. And then you come in and you're like, no, you're in group A and you're group C. Get over there. Yeah.
This room now.
Everyone's just like, they don't like write a number down. They're just like, help.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah. No, our meetups are fun. We swear. No, we don't break you up into little groups for experiments.
No. I just have a educational background in statistics, so I just automatically, I'm just like, this is how you solve this with statistical confidence. I think to be honest, anyone that you pick, as long as you spend a little bit of time prepping and thinking about the audience, like it's gonna be good.
Thanks. Yeah. No, practice. That's why I do it at the meetup. I also go to I think they're called the Front End Guild. They're at the Hacker Dojo in the South Bay. I'm also going to do the talk there next week already. So I guess I kind of have to prepare for that. Thanks for the reminder, I guess.
When is the conference? Is in March?
Yeah. The end of March. So
end of March. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. Cool. What are you excited about these days? Any tech?
I don't know. I've been like trying to like organize like a bunch of different talk ideas and trying to see like if any of them I'd want to do, and then like write some abstracts, try to do some conference talks this year.
Yeah, do it. You can also I love the 2 talks you did last year at our meetups. The one about refactoring legacy code. I think that one everybody loved. Like, yeah.
I gave a version of that at Chain React, the React Native conference in Portland last year too, after the meetup. Yeah.
Nice. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Cool.
Super fun. Super great conference too.
Chain React?
Yeah, Chain React. Yeah. Shout out to Chain React. Yeah, it's good. Is it like July, I think, is when they do it? Yeah. It's like, what I really like about the conference, there are a couple things. One, hosts are amazing. Like, it's a really great vibe from the hosts and everyone there to help everybody and support. That's Infinite Red is the people that put it on. They're big in the React Native community. And then besides that, is just like a practical thing, is that it's single track. There's no multi-track. So they have like you can do like the workshops or whatever, like the pre-conf or whatever. Yeah. But like, if you just have a conference ticket, everyone is doing the same thing at the same time.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
So like everyone's on the same page, I think that's great. And they're able to do that because I think they limit it to like a few hundred attendees.
Nice. Yeah, that sounds very similar to Epic WebConf. Like when you don't have to choose. Yeah. kind of stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good one. I hope to go like every year. It's
Yeah.
a great one.
But why is it called React if it's React
Chain
Native?
React? I don't know. It's kind of confusing, I guess.
Mobile-ish conference?
It's React Native specific. Yeah.
Interesting that, yeah, that they aren't called Chain React.
React Native. Yeah, I don't know. I talk to the organizers. Yeah, maybe we can bring them on the podcast, have them answer these pressing
Yeah.
questions. Like the community wants to know.
We
By
cannot
community, we mean
answer.
Andre. Yeah, bring him before Andre's court.
What are your ideas for this year that you mentioned?
I'm like trying to determine whether or not they're going to be like actually talks or they're going to be like blog posts. But I think these are the ones that seem like talks. There's speaking of React Native, one that's like 2025 is the year to build a React Native app. Kind of talk about like all a little bit of the history of React Native, but and also like the huge changes to like its architecture and
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty amazing now. It's the 10th year. Right? 2025 is the 10-year anniversary of React Native being open source. But they just finished up a gigantic re-architecture that was announced like 4 years ago or something like that. Yeah, so it's pretty amazing, and like the performance. There's like, who was it that has this as a slogan? I think it's. Ooh, I don't want to. It's one of two consultancies, and I don't remember which, so I don't want to say the names of either
Yeah.
because I might be wrong. But they having this slogan, like one of their catchphrases is like the native in React Native stands for native.
The native in React Native stands for native.
Yeah, which I just like love because there's always this like when React Native first came out, like it came out. There was like you had Cordova, PhoneGap, like HTML5 apps and stuff, and there was like this whole like the main divide was like, are you going to build like a native app like either Java or Objective C for Android and iOS, or are you going to build a you're going to use JavaScript, which can only mean that you're going to build an HTML5.
Yeah.
You're just going to build a web app that's like mobile optimized, and you're going to throw it in a web view or container. Yeah. And then, so like React Native came on the scene at that time. And so ever since there's been confusion about like, yeah, what they, and then you get into this like people that have never really like looked into it and have just like written it off. And you like, you want to talk to them and like be like, no, 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 no. Like, here, let me explain it to you. You just come off as like a React Native fanboy slash like Uber nerd kind of thing. We're like, well, actually, uh, so yeah, there's just so much confusion. But yeah, so that talk would be about the re-architecture, a little bit of the history, but then like the re-architecture and like the pretty amazing things you could do with React Native these days. Then there's one I'm calling hey, it works on all our machines, which is like managing like dev environments across like distributed teams.
Okay. With
So
AI.
yeah, just use AI. No, it's the tool I'll spotlight there is a kind of an old tool that's called Solidarity. It's a great little tool that does the things that you'd want to do to like make sure people's dev machines are set up in like the lowest, how do you say, like the lowest overhead, because you could do it with like everyone's machine's a container.
Yeah.
And then like you're not allowed to install anything on it. Like you're like, oh no, my node version's like off, I want to update or whatever. It's like, no, you
We
must.
can't. Yeah.
We gotta like the container team, the dev experience container team needs to like
Yeah.
go through like the whole like review process on this upgrade, and then like eventually create a new image, and then you can eventually pull it down after it's gone through all the testing and QA pipelines and everything. It's like dev experience. Whereas like Solidarity is just like you got a JSON object. I'm gonna do this from memory because I haven't written this talk, and I
Yeah.
haven't set up
No, I get
Solidarity, but it's like it's a JSON object of like, here are all the depths, and you just commit it to your repo.
it.
Here's all the depths we need, and then you can like, if you want to, you can specify version numbers for those dependencies, and like I think probably all of it, all it's doing is being like, node a dash dash version and running it in a terminal, and being like, oh, okay, this output is the same as what I expected, or it's not. And then you can have optionally like fixes. So like just write the command, or you probably also like reference a script or something. Yeah, I'm sure you could. By just a command that references the script, but you could just write a command to like, this is how we want to install Node, right? So it's like, this thing's running, we've put it under like docker command in a package JSON, so you got in your repo, you can run like npm or yarn, npm run or yarn docker or whatever, and then that'll just call the solidarity by, it'll run it against this JSON. And so you can have stuff where it's like, oh yeah, they got the Node version that we need. So you don't need to decide what version manager or have conflicts around what version manager, right? You could. I've always opted to not. Like,
What? So every time you run it, it installs all the right dependencies from the right origins.
No, it's even better. It's even lighter.
Okay.
It just checks. It just checks.
Okay.
You have the right version of Node, then we don't care where it comes from or how you're managing it.
I see.
Right? But then if you don't have Node installed, okay, check. Do you have any Node version manager installed? No? Okay. Then we have an opinionated solution about what Node version manager you should have. Right? But if so that helps like people who maybe not JS developers, or like they're brand new, they don't even know like the dark world of Node version managers and all that stuff. So it's just like, hey, don't worry, because all we actually care about at the end of the day is that you've got the right version of Node installed, because that's what this project is dependent on, right?
Right.
So yeah.
So what it does is it just prints you like a nice error message that tells you this is missing, or your dev environment misses these things, and this is how you install them, kind of.
Yeah. So then if you like an optional property on this in each, so it's like a giant JSON of like all the depths, and then on each one of the key value pairs is like fix or something like that. Which it's optional. It's optional. But if you add that there, then it can be like, you can automate the entire thing. So it's like, if they don't have Node, or then install like nvm run and then LTS or whatever your version is that you need. You probably want to not just specify LTS, a specific version, but and then if they don't have nvm or n or whatever Node version manager you're using, then install that thing, and then install Node, and you can have all that just like written in a script. And so someone can just be like yarn doctor, and it's like, oh, okay, these things are wrong, do you want to fix them? Run like yarn doctor fix, or
doctor.
I'm just saying what I have namespaced it to as typical. Because doctor, I don't know if this is like,
no, it's good. You said it the second and third time, and both times I understood Docker. And I was like,
well, it's just like talking trash about doing like containers, and then I'm like, but Docker, no, doctor, like a physician, someone who's going to fix the things.
Because you don't need Docker when you
correct. So we could just call it solidarity. I'll just say that instead of doctor. I'm just used to.
No, I think it's good.
You
could do it like check depths or whatever, right? Like whatever you want. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like it.
Yeah. So that one's good. The okay, another one, and that one could be a lightning talk.
Yeah. Just like pitching the tool.
Solidarity.
Basically.
Yeah.
Is it a company, or is it an open source tool?
It's also from Infinite Red. Now I just feel like I'm affiliated with Infinite Red. I think Gant Laborde at Infinite Red, he's the one who wrote it like probably a decade ago or something like that.
Okay.
And I remember just coming across and being like, oh yeah, that's exactly, like, it's not like some crazy advanced thing, but it's like, it works. It does the job. It does it how you'd want it. You can you can reason through it, like how the thing works. So it's a lovely little tool.
Yeah, I've never heard about it. That's really cool.
Yeah, I told Gant that last year. I was like, hey, by the way, you wrote this thing and I love it. We've been using it for years. And he's like, oh yeah. And I think I asked him specifically, like, why isn't everyone using this? Because it solves a problem that like every distributed team has at some point. Right?
Do you know how Sebastian fixes this or does this kind of stuff?
Requests like SSHs into his like Teams machines. No, I don't know.
This should be different. I fix it. No.
Yeah.
No, he uses make files, right? Like
Okay.
basically of package.json.
Yeah.
I mean, all he does in his make files, I think, is calling package.json commands, right? Like CDing in the right folder and calling stuff.
Yeah.
But in make, I guess, I'm not sure if it's just a bash command he executes or if there's like and I'm not sure if it's make specific. I don't think so. But it's basically just he checks if the things are available in the CLI, if you can call it like node-v, for instance. And if it errors out, then he prints an error message. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like the handmade version, or like
Does it have like a fix for it? Like it'll auto fix?
no, he would just like write an error message. Like you need node for this report. Like it's like a check
Yeah.
depth
Yeah.
command in
Yeah.
the make file that is then
Yeah.
called by others, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I thought that was pretty neat, but it's definitely like more manual, right? Like it's
Yeah.
not as declarative.
Yeah. 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 Hmm.
Cool. Those are two cool talks. Any else, or those are the
Yeah.
one,
I
two?
got a few more.
Oh,
And I just wrote a note too, like to go versus using make files, so I can remember to like go
oh,
look at that
yeah.
and see. Yeah.
Right.
Um. Okay. Writing abstract UI, the paradigm shift. This one I don't like. I wrote like a horrible title to it because I don't know what a better title is yet, and that'll force me to write a better title. But because it doesn't make writing abstract UI is the problem. Like it doesn't. I don't understand. Like as someone who's not me, who doesn't know what this topic is,
Mhm.
that I'm calling this, doesn't know what that is.
I don't know
So
what that is. What is
yeah,
abstract UI?
this is actually the other talk I gave at All Things Web over the years, which was the one at Sanity that you missed. This was about it's a very opinionated talk about the code that we write versus where it's run. One, how we should, as web developers, acknowledge this. So it kind of gets into like, hey, you write this code, like we're writing JS or whatever, right? And we're talking about, I think before we started recording, talking about like date functions and stuff and like temporal now. And it's like, okay, you could use temporal, but that code's gonna be transpiled by Babel for your target browsers, right? Whatever you specify. So it's going to be polyfilled. And so like the code that is going to be rendered in, Internet Explorer,
Yeah.
just to pick a bad one. Oh, here we go. That's going to be different than what you've written, right?
Yeah.
Because you have like a separate build target and a separate runtime, and you have so it gets into like the different engines that are evaluating like the JavaScript you write over. And then it gets into like, okay, what are like other options out there? And basically the idea is that um, we'll continue to have like an explosion, like this exploding expansion of different
Dimensions.
target platforms.
Yeah.
And yeah, dimensions is a good one. Sizes, interfaces, what those different platforms, even like the device that it's run on, like what kinds of things are available to you. Like, do you want to use Bluetooth in your web app? Cool. So you don't want it to work on iOS browsers, like that kind of stuff. So like all of that, you as a web developer today, if you don't abstract away your UI
Yeah.
away from the platform that you're targeting, you have to concern yourself with all those things, right? But if you separate those two concerns and you have like a layer that is an expert in the different build or the different target platforms you want to build for, then you don't need to think about that, like those platform differences. And when I talk about platform differences, is like, different versions of JavaScript, different engines, different devices, like all those things I mentioned, gets into that. And then like, yeah, there's like a not surprising
Outcome.
outcome. Yeah.
Okay. I think. Yeah. Do you want to talk more about this? I think this is interesting.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just going to list off the other three then real quick. One's called Keep It Together, modern mono repos that scale. So like instead of micro repos and stuff, yeah, keep it together. And then don't make the same mistakes I did. Tales from engineering,
Okay.
like scary stories.
Yeah.
And then because that stuff, I think that's people just love that, and it's great to share that kind of stuff so everyone doesn't feel like, oh no,
Yeah.
I'm the one that's the bad engineer, or like I'm the one that
Yeah.
it's all bad. And then I think the one that you would appreciate the most, but maybe is also the least interesting to you.
Tell me.
You'll understand what that means when I tell you the title here. Let's take this offline. How to talk to your manager for fun and profit.
Okay, so I think the last two you should definitely do it at an like meetup event, like
Okay.
both of them. I think that
Yeah.
would be really funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's take it offline.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love all the talk titles. I think they're really creative.
Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Okay. You wanted to talk about abstract UI. Do you want to like get into it?
But because the first thing I was thinking is just for everybody, I'm not a React Native developer, right? Like I've never built an Expo app. I have kind of a vague idea how it works and stuff, but like I've only ever done that. But you have done a lot of Expo and React Native development over the years, right? Like,
Yeah. I'd say let's not a ton of Expo specific development until I've just been playing around with it a lot more recently. But
but
yeah,
React Native, you have done a
that's
lot. Yeah,
almost 10 years. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So isn't the whole thing about React Native that you don't try to abstract because every platform needs their own, or like you don't try, sorry. Okay, maybe it is actually the same you're saying. So like isn't the thing that React Native always highlights or emphasizes that you can't share all the code between all the platforms because each of them is different. So what you can do is try to share as much as possible, but then for each platform, for Android and iOS, you have to build something so it feels actually native, right? Is that true?
Sort of.
Okay.
So the you're totally on. I didn't even mention React Native, and you got the what it.
I
Surprise,
understood
surprise!
the
Erik gonna
yeah.
bring in React Native to this. The but yeah, so it does abstract that stuff away for you.
Okay.
So you're when you're writing UI in React Native, you're if you're doing it well, if you're and by that I mean like really utilizing the framework, you're not thinking of any build target. So
While like using your like generalized components and whatnot, right?
correct.
But then
Yeah. So
under the
like
hood.
yeah, that component that you're writing, unlike like when you're like this is what I mean by it's kind of like hidden in web development because
Uh,
it's easy to think like you're I'm writing a div,
yeah.
right? P tag, you're using all those HTML tags, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh yeah, like I'm writing for the web platform.
Yeah.
But like but the web platform is misleading because you have so many different targets, right? So the idea with React Native is that it's not hidden because when you're writing like the primitives, like you have the p tags and div tags and all that in with HTML primitives in web development, in React Native your primitives coming from like the standard React Native library
Yeah.
are like view and text and these kinds of things which don't exist on any platform.
I see. And then under the hood, for each platform, you can have a custom implementation or custom gotchas and edge cases and stuff. So
Yeah,
that's
and
what you mean with abstract away.
yeah, and then the main thing besides the edge cases, right? The main thing that you're doing is you're having another layer. And by you, I mean like React Native is doing this for you. You could set it up yourself with like custom build targets and stuff
Yeah.
like that if you want to go what's called out of tree, like out of the core targets.
Okay.
But like the core targets of like iOS and Android, they come out of the box. There's so those layers of transpiling your React Native abstract like view and all these components or whatever into like okay, what is the native version of that?
What?
That's going to be just like a build step,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
right? So then you don't as I don't need to worry about iOS and Android. Like I should know these things and
Mhm.
I should know like the platform stuff, right? In
Yeah.
general, but I don't actually have to get going.
Okay.
And you know, arguably you never have to, I guess, but you are going to need to test it on some devices at some point. But that step is a separate layer, so you have separated those concerns.
Yeah.
And there's escape hatches and all that kind of stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's the main idea.
And that's kind of what you're advocating for on the web platform or like for web as well, right? Like get to like architect your app in a way where you kind of have this.
Yeah, and at least like that sounds too grandiose for like my
Right.
my goals here. My goals are more like one, show you why I'm so biased to React Native, why I think it's cool, whatever,
Yeah.
to think
Yeah.
in this way. And really, it could be any platform. It just feels like this is the right way.
Mhm.
Like it's a right separation of concerns. And then so kind of like argue for that, whether it's React Native, which is the one that's at the forefront of this,
Yeah.
or some other thing like that feels to me like that is it's a good important separation of concerns.
Yeah.
But then the other thing is more like awareness kind of thing. Like you're already like you've got Babel, and then you've also got like this this web app I built. Like we're getting like customer feedback that it's broken in this thing or it's broken in this thing, and so you get like kind of like you end up with like spaghetti code, or like you could look at like CSS and you've got like all these things where it's like WebKit, blah 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 blah, and like you've got all these different um,
Yeah.
properties, or even like meta tags in your header,
Yeah.
in your head. But uh, it's just to be like aware of this, like not just like, oh yeah, that's just part of it, but
Mhm.
to think of it as like a separate thing, to think of it as this, like the code that I'm writing is abstract and not really going to run anywhere,
Uh,
and it's going to be transpiled, and I'm going to have all these different build targets, and I have all this. How can I like isolate myself from that in a way? Like, what kind of tools do we already have, and you know, how
uh,
can I better think about this stuff?
okay, I see. Okay, because first it sounded like it's conflicting to React Native, which I thought you like so much, but then I realized while you were talking, it's actually inspired by React Native.
Yeah. It's just me regurgitating the React Native stuff, like in my own words or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's cool. Okay, I like that. Um, but okay, one more follow-up question. I hear a lot of React Native devs saying like, I mean, Blue Sky had this thing where it's like the feed is very laggy. I'm not sure if that's true, but like I'm just making something up that I think sounds like what I heard. It's like
Mhm.
for some Android devices, or we have this one bug in iOS, right? Like, so you still have to like, because it said like it's abstracted away, and to get you started, you don't even have to think about it. But then if something happens, or like if you have to like optimize, you still have to go down into the lower layer, right? Like it's not all automated and stuff, right? Like there is something to it, right? Where you have to
Mhm.
debug. Or I
Yeah.
mean, it's a question. I'm not sure.
Yeah. The, this one is there's, when you get to like optimization stuff, yeah, then it becomes like a different ball game, because you probably, so let me take a step back. Like, you get to optimization stuff because your V1
Yeah,
is good and you want to continue working on it, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a product that you want to continue building, whether it's like your own little pet project that has like taken off, and like now you have like, so many users in this list,
yeah,
that are like posting all these things, like, oh, like it never actually
yeah.
tested that we'd have more than 10 users, and now we're at 10,000 or whatever, or a million or whatever. So like, these are optimization problems, are problems of success, even though it maybe feel frustrating at the time, right? Because you're not going to want to optimize something that's like no one wants. Right. Okay, so I've beaten that dead horse. So okay, the other things is, okay, a lot of these things are problems that you would face with any other framework, including like the native frameworks like Swift UI, or any of the like Android ones like Jetpack Compose, and some others. You will face a lot of these problems, especially in the Android world, like where
Mm.
it's like a trigger when you said that, like on some Android
Yeah,
devices.
yeah, yeah,
It's this one's hard. And what typically, like the Android route to like optimization is like, first, do we care about it?
yeah.
Do we care about it enough to
Yeah,
do something about it? And usually that is like, go look at your user analytics and go see like, okay, how many from this vendor, because the whole Android ecosystem,
yeah,
it's it's great that Android's open source, and it's horrible that Android's open source,
yeah,
because it means that like every manufacturer of every Android phone wants to differentiate themselves in the market.
yeah,
So they go fork and they add their own stuff to it. And then you end up with like not just the standard library, which is usually slower than manufacturers are innovating. You get the standard library coming like a year or two after a dozen
right,
vendors have implemented something, right?
right.
Um, and yeah, and they may not be up to date with like the fork, and the fork may not be up to date, all that kind of stuff. So you kind of got to look and see like, okay, of all of our users, how many are on HTCs that have like HTC in general, because we've identified this is just occurring with HTCs based on like the support, like people pressing like support, and we sending up, our app is sending over like the telemetry data about the phone's model and all that kind of stuff, or our error messages and our error logs. Shout out Sentry. So then it's like, okay, do we care about it enough to do something about it? And if we do, then you go look at stuff. So it's like, if it's the list, right? You've got like a couple options. So you've got the standard library of React Native, and then you've got a bunch of like community options. So you're like, okay, let's do the Blue Sky example.
Yeah,
I can't speak any detail. I
yeah,
think I poked around the repo once or twice or something like that, but I have no idea their
yeah,
implementations and stuff. But but it's cool that it's a React Native app, and you can kind of like watch people like Dan Abramoff like
Yeah,
live
that's
dealing
pretty
like
cool. That's
work,
open source.
doing the work. Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, like list views are that's like the home view of our
Mm.
app. It's critical to our app. Our app is a list view. Okay, so we do care about it in general. Let's go look at try to understand what the problem is, and then you're probably also going to want to look at like what are community solutions, what are other people doing, right?
Yeah, or like even if you have to debug it and do something custom based on your architecture, what would you always do it on a React Native level, or is there a way, and would you ever like be like, no, this has to be done on the build step, or like I have to actually write Kotlin now? Is that a thing in React Native, or
Yeah.
yeah, technically you can. Like I have to care about the underlying platform now because I am the expert here and I have to optimize this. I know this is an Android thing. I can fix it in Kotlin. Is that a
Yeah.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So that's kind of like the progression of both like as an individual, if you're focused on like React Native and you're focused on React Native specifically for like iOS and Android or whatever platforms there are, as you're going down that journey, like you're going to benefit from learning more about the platforms that you're targeting, including like writing code, like the progression of like a team. So like let's say we built V1 of this like list view app or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we had like a React developer that never did mobile development. Great, React Native sounds perfect for us because we're just writing components, React
Yeah.
components, right? So they build the app, and then you know user base hockey sticks, and you start trying to catch up by building a team or whatever. That
Yeah.
team, the kind of like journey of that team is also like, okay, internally people are going to kind of do this. What I mentioned for the individual developer of like getting exposed to the native stuff for the different build platforms,
Right.
build target platforms. But also, you're probably going to want to hire people
Like
that
expert.
know that
Yeah.
are experts in mobile, right?
Okay. That makes
On
sense.
one platform there. Yeah. So it's not uncommon for like a mature React Native app to have multiple like custom native modules that you like. So the way that works is like you write, the native module in Objective C or Java or Kotlin,
Mm.
and then you make a wrapper. You're just wrapping so that they have the same interface, and then
So it's like
that
WebAssembly.
it's
Sorry.
I don't know. I've never done any like cool WASM stuff, so I couldn't say. But
I just want to make a silly comparison that kind of makes sense, but also makes no sense at all.
and Bitcoin.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
Bitcoin. Yeah.
It's like
Uh,
Bitcoin, right?
yeah.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, I know
Anyway,
it's yeah, it's good. It's good.
no, I like that. That's cool. I appreciate the explanations because I've heard like people talk about React Native and that stuff, but never thought about it too deeply. I have two talk recommendations for you.
Okay.
The first one I sent you in Discord is Tame the Component Multiverse from Michael Chan. It is not super related to what you said, but he also motivates his talk. I think it's like kind of like a storybook motivation talk about like all the different variants of your components, right? Like on mobile, on all the different like viewports and dark mode, light mode, like and kind of it has to like do a similar motivation. So you could check out just like the way he motivates his talk because that could be applicable. And the other one is called A Fistful of Data. And that one I think you should just watch because it's fun.
Okay.
From Henry Helvetica. I think it was an Epic Web Conf or Remix Conf. That was talking about image optimization and performance on the web. That's why I recently watched it again, just as a refresher, just to like
Okay.
he had to say about image optimization. The reason I bring it up is because he was like, there's two types of mobile users, iOS and devils. And it's just really like just what you just said about like Android users are like it's crazy because there's so many versions and taming that complexity is really hard. Like
Yeah.
that's also uh where he's coming from, right? So like, I just think it's funny. So you would appreciate that talk, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Probably. It sounds. Yeah. He's probably a React Native developer.
He does performance stuff, right? Like so they see a lot of data, a lot of mobile data, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
That's another thing with Android that's like independent of like the OS kind of fragmentation
yeah.
is that you've got a lot of like low end Android devices as well. Like
Yeah.
not you've got like the Samsungs, like flagship Samsung
Google
stuff,
Pixel,
right?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
or Google Pixel, yeah. But then you've got like so many others that are not trying to be like the best.
Yeah.
price doesn't matter, the best.
Yeah.
You've got the vast majority of Android phones are price competitive, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then also they just like are being like, it's just a phone that is being used by people who are more price sensitive, right? So like it might not even be last generation. It might be 3 generation old budget Android phone, right? And then
Yeah.
it's really tough if you want to build
Yeah.
something for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Not that like, Apple are like angels or anything like that, but they're I remember a long time ago, Steve Jobs used to show at the WWDC, like the annual Apple conference, used to show like a pie chart. It was like that's all he needed to show, which was like, here's all the users that are on different versions of iPhones or whatever, like iOS or whatever, and and here's like Android, and it was like the most popular version of Android on the entire install base.
Yeah.
It was like 2%.
Yeah.
It's like, just like as a developer, you're just like, no, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now, especially like iOS or Apple's platforms, you've got like Swift and Swift UI is like a unifying language and framework. So like your stuff can just work.
Yeah.
There you do need to think of like, okay, I've got a mobile phone. Like, how do I make it look good on TV? Exactly.
That's a
Exactly.
good talk. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. Swift UI is actually, it's very Swift UI and Jetpack Compose on Android, which I don't know how actual popular that is.
Yeah.
But because I'm just not aware. Both of those heavily inspired by like React declarative way of writing stuff,
Yeah.
versus the older frameworks that were not. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
we have been yapping for an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, once you edit it down, there's only like 10 minutes of content. So
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh no, this is too cringe. I have to kill this. No, I
yeah.
couldn't get that. No. Yeah, next time we should talk about all things web as a nonprofit.
Oh yeah.
And
Hype.
I need your advice with my Go app.
Oh yeah.
Go
Golang.
or not to go?
Oh
Tell
gosh.
me. Should I go?
Yeah. Please figure yourself out. I
No, no.
appreciate it. It's a great title. The whole thing should just be that.
Yeah.
To go or not to go. To Golang.
Yeah.
Go
No, I
to
would
Golang.
actually appreciate your advice there, or like just your
Sure.
intuition. Have you ever
Uh,
played with Go or like any other language lately than JavaScript and TypeScript?
No, it's only ever JavaScript and only ever React Native. No. Yeah, but I'm not. I will be happy to give you advice as a non Golang expert.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think, yeah, those would be cool topics for next time.
Cool.
All right. That's
I'm
fun.
down, man. Great talking to you, man. And where can people find more of this? What allthingsweb.dev, right? And that's got all the links.
Web.dev has all the links.
Events, Discord, your personal home address,
YouTube, social security number.
Perfect.
All
Cool,
right.
man.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye bye.